Hey everybody, this is a quick video to help you get started on Anki flashcards. If you are a student of mine doing Hebrew or Greek or Latin and you want to be taking advantage of a good flashcard system electronically, Anki is hands down one of the best options that you can possibly go with. They're great because they use spaced repetition as a way of helping you to review your flashcards, making sure that they shuffle your deck in such a way that the things that you need to study more come up more frequently, and the things that you've really learned get put into longer term memory and retention. So without further ado, let's get started. What you want to do is you can download the Anki system onto your computer. Most of you have a laptop, and it's great to be able to use it on your laptop because it's free, absolutely free, as a laptop app. All right. So I want to encourage you to do that. Now, if you want to also download mobile versions for an Android phone, tablet, or an Apple product like an iPhone or an iPad, you can get apps in the respective app stores. The designer of the Anki system designed the iOS version, and it's a paid app. It's about $24, $25. This is how he makes his living. But he's not an Android user or an Android developer, so he actually made the materials available for Android development, and he didn't charge the people who developed the Android version, and told them you can do whatever you want with it, and they've chosen to put it in the Google Play Store for free. So they don't charge for it. So if you have an Android device but you're an iPhone user and you want to carry that along, you can get the Android app. All right, but one thing I do want to make sure that you understand, and I'll point it out when we get to the web page, is that there are some knockoff versions of these apps out there, and they do not provide all of the support or interconnectedness that these two official apps do. All right, so just be careful that you do download the right app and don't pay for something that's not going to work very well. All right, so in order to get started, what we need to do is to get over to Anki's website and download the program. So go to your web browser, and you want to type in apps.ankiweb.net. Okay, and when you go there, you're going to see the home page here. You can click download here, and it'll push you all the way down, or you can scroll down. All right, so this is just a quick pop down, and you're going to want to choose Windows or Mac, or if you're a Linux user, you can go with that. Here is where he mentions the mobile apps. Now, don't start using the mobile apps until you've set up everything with your laptop or computer version. And I'll talk about syncing, and you want to make sure that everything's set up here on your computer before you start doing mobile device things, because you want to sync the mobile device to everything that's on your computer. All right. So when you click on these, it'll take you to the respective websites. So I'll just pull over these two just to show you what they look like here. This one is the iPhone preview, and you'll see it's called Anki Mobile Flashcards, Architects Pty Limited. There's just one caution here, right? Beware other apps that actually use the name Anki in their name. They're not official, and they won't necessarily synchronize everything in the way that this app does. So this is the official one. Make sure you get this one if you're an iPhone, iPad user, and then if you are an Android user, then it's called Anki Droid flashcards. Anki Droid flashcards. Just because you see a blue star doesn't make it official, okay? You got to make sure that you've got the right app. So this one, where I saw the downloads, there's over 10 million downloads for the Anki Droid version. So if I just search Anki on Google Play, you'll see that there's Anki Pro, Anki App, Anki Flashcard, right? These are just people who developed an app using Anki's system, but they're not the official versions of these. So Anki Droid is it, and you're able to log in your actual account so that you can run synchronizations across multiple platforms. Once you download your computer version of the app, you should make sure you remember where you downloaded it to. Where did you save it? Typically, it goes to a downloads folder in Windows, and just go find it and double click on it, and it will load the program for you. Once your program's loaded, it should create, if you allow it, a shortcut on your desktop. I also find it here by scrolling down to the A for Anki here. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and click that, and you will see it open your program, and it's going to open to basically blank decks because you haven't stocked anything into the Anki flashcard system. This is the beauty of Anki, is that there are users all over the world who have created flashcards already and shared those flashcard decks with the world. And they're just waiting for you to come and to actually use them. So you're going to need to get the decks that you want. And since we're doing language studies in Hebrew, Greek, Latin, you want to find decks that work for what you're studying. Because the Anki community is large and many people have been using the system for their language study, it's often the case that whatever textbook you're using for your language study, someone has already created flashcards for the vocab words, some of the exercises, whatever. People study and create ways of quizzing themselves, and so sometimes you can get more than flashcards. It just depends on who's created the decks you're looking at. Okay, so let's get some decks. I'm going to expand that, and again, if you click decks here, that takes you to your set of decks, but we don't have anything here. I will say that syncing here is going to require you to create a free account, so you can click sync and create your account here. You just do sign up there. You don't have to do that right now, but before you can synchronize, you have to do that so that when you get the mobile app and you want to then transfer all of the information from your computer to the mobile app so that you synchronize those, you need a shared username and password account in order to do that, because your data is going to be stored in Anki Web's cloud servers, and the synchronizations will pull from that server. Okay. Now, how do we get decks? This is really wonderful. Go and click Get Shared here, and at the bottom of your screen, and it's going to pull up the Shared Decks webpage on Anki's website. Now, you'll notice that there's all sorts of languages here, but this is not an exhaustive list. I teach Hebrew, and I teach Greek. Let's see. I don't see the Greek one here either. So if you don't see the language you want, you just need to do a search for whatever it is you're looking for. Okay? So what I would recommend is I'm going to go ahead and just show you here the Hebrew, and you'll notice that there's lots of Hebrew flashcard decks that have been shared. Some of these are for modern Hebrew, some of them are for biblical Hebrew. So let's go get a Latin deck. So I click Get Shared again. And here, remember, we didn't see Latin, so we're going to have to type that in. And you'll notice that Wheelock is here. That's the textbook we're using, Wheelock. And this is chapters 1 through 40 vocabulary with audio. So this is great. There's 847 flashcards with 818 audio files. All right. You can see that there's some other Wheelock shared decks here, but notice, like with this one, there are no audios. So this is just visual flashcards. Okay? So you can click through these. You'll find that there are complaints about these other decks, that they don't have macrons, for example, which is actually an important part of Latin study. There's a couple of reasons that this is the best one, the one that's at the top. And that's why it's got good ratings as well. It's because it does have all the macrons and it has audio. The others don't. So we're going to click that one. Wheelock's Latin chapters 1 through 40 vocab with audio. Now, what's nice about the forms with audios is it'll give you the option to hear what it sounds like. So on one side, you'll see the Latin verb with the four principal parts. So invidio, invidere, invidi, invisum, right? But you can hear it, so you can preview or pre-hear how these things sound. So they give you several examples of that. But let's download that as well. Now this is going to be a lot of audio to add. So when we run a synchronization for the first time, it may take a little while for all this to upload to the server, to your account. So now let's go back to our downloads folder, and here's the Wheelock. So we want to double click that, and it's going to add Wheelock's Latin after we click import. And remember, there was 800 and something media files, so this will take just perhaps a little bit longer, but not much longer than the other. All right, we'll close that. So now I've got Latin here. So Hebrew vocab, deck, I've got a Latin deck. And remember, it presets these at learning 20 new cards a day. So you can change that option if you want to. You can go here to options down at the bottom, and new cards per day. You can preset that to 5 or 10 if you don't want to do a full 20. And the maximum reviews a day here is 200. That means that when words go into your review pile, there's going to come a point where your review pile is really large. It's not going to throw more than 200 review cards at you in a particular day, right? Like you could have 1,000 words you've mastered, but you don't really want to have to cover 1,000 vocab words for review in a day. All right. When you're learning new cards, you can set the intervals for how you see them again. So remember, we have the 1 minute interval. If I click the far left button when I answer and say again, that means I'm going to see that within a minute. The next level is to see it within 10 minutes. This is the way this one is preset here. Okay, so and I can have this as a default for all my decks. So let me go ahead and get out of that. All right. So this is just how you get it. Now, what I want to do is just show you what you want to do for the purposes of the class. Okay. You can keep reviewing and adding from the textbook vocab list a certain number of cards a day. All right. But in the case of structured language study, we want to master vocabulary by chapters. And so I'll just show you how to do that by doing what's called custom study. All right. So let's say I'm in my Latin deck. Go back out. So I've got my decks here. I go to my Latin deck, and I want to click custom study here. And what I want to do is I want to study by card, state, or tag. And what I want to do is I want to find all of the Wheelock Chapter 1 vocab words, and I want to put those in a stack of their own so that I can just study those, right? So let me do that. And what I'm going to do is I don't want to choose new cards, do cards, or just review cards, which are mastered cards. I want to do all cards that meet my criterion in a random order. And now I'm going to choose the tags. And what I want to do is I want to require Anki to pick all of the vocab words that are tagged for a particular chapter. That means I have to check this box, require one or more of these tags, and then I want to click chapter 1. So notice then that that is highlighted in blue. If I want to add chapter 2, I just click it. I don't have to hold any keys on my keyboard down. I can click any of these, right? I can click them again to unselect them. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you what happens when you just click one. We'll click OK. And here we have 46 of the chapter 1 vocab words that are now for custom study. And I can go ahead and study them. And you'll see that it gives you the vocalization. And then you need to guess the answer, please. And then pick how you felt about that. Was it hard? Then say, I want to see it again. Was it too hard? Did I miss it? Then click again. You'll see it within a minute. If it's hard, then you'll see it again, but within 10 minutes. If it's good, then you're at the end. And if it's easy, you're at the end. It'll push it into the review pile. Okay, so let me just say that's hard. So here's none, which means not, right? Click that, and let's say I've got that. That one's easy. All right, so you have the opportunity to vocalize, repeat after your audio, and continue to learn and acquire the skill of reading Latin as well as understanding what you're seeing. Okay, you want to read it out loud. Okay, so if you're not done reviewing, but you have to stop, you just go to your decks, close the system, close whatever. It'll keep track of what you've done today so far, and when you go back in, you can start over or start again by clicking custom, right? So you just press study now, and you're back where you left off. Okay. All right. Now, so this is now labeled custom study session. What I would encourage you to do, because you might do this with different, you might do it with different decks if you're studying multiple languages, and you might want to have the ability to custom study individual chapters from, say, the Ross textbook and from the Wheelock textbook, or if you're doing a Mounts book, a Mounts textbook, is to rename this. Because anytime you do a custom study from inside a deck, it's gonna be called custom study session. So let's rename our custom study session, and we'll just say we'll call this a Wheelock by chapter. Okay, and then we'll click OK. And now that puts it down here among the decks. And so if I go to Hebrew vocab and I want to do custom study of Ross, I do the same thing. I'm going to study by tag. These are tagged by chapter. I'm going to click all cards in random order, and then I'm going to choose my tags, and I'm going to require that it give me particular chapters. Now, you'll notice that there's no chapter 1 here because there are no vocab words in chapter 1. But let's say you want to do chapter 2, do chapter 2, and click OK. And now there are 10 cards to review. Now, there are not 10 vocab words in Ross chapter 2. There's 5. But the beauty of Anki is you can create flashcards that go back and forth. That is, it'll show you the Hebrew side or the Latin side one time. You have to guess the English meaning. And then it'll give you the English word on one side, and you have to produce the Latin or the Hebrew meaning. And that's really good. That really helps you to build and retain that vocabulary. Okay, so we do study now. You'll notice that this card's starting with English, and this is the word shalom. And it'll give you the pronunciation. That's good. Buy it. There it starts with Hebrew, and that's house or tent. Okay, so that's our custom study. Now, so notice that custom study is the generic term for what we just did using our Hebrew stack. So I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to rename it. and we'll call this Ross by chapter. Okay, and that will change that. Now, let's say you're done with chapter 1 or you're done with chapter 2 and now you want to review chapter 3 or chapter 4. How do you do that? This is great. So let's start with, let's just look at Wheelock, okay? So I'm going to go to options. Actually, here, let me click on that. We want to click options first. Okay, notice how the filter, it's basically asking to search by tag, and you'll notice that I've got the tag is chapter 1. Okay, now there's a couple of things that we might want to do here. One is, let's just change that to chapter 2, for example, and then we're going to click rebuild. Notice that there's 64 here, and these are all chapter 2 vocab words. Let me go to option here. If a chapter happens to have more than 100 vocab words in it, or let's say you want to do multiple chapters at the same time, and that pushes your number of flashcards up above 100, it's only going to select 100 because that's what you set your limit to. So I want to recommend that maybe you set your limit to 200 or 300 here, so that you don't miss any cards that might have that tag. Okay, so go ahead and click rebuild. It didn't add anything here because there's not more than 100 or not more than 200 here. Okay, now let's see. We'll study, and again, this one starts with English. There's the Latin, and we're going to pick our options here. All right, so let's do one other thing here. Go back here, go back to Wheelock by chapter, and if you click browse, this add means to add a flashcard. So if you want to create a new flashcard that's not already made, you want to add a flashcard, you decide you want to do something new by way of a learning activity, you can do that, right? And this gives you a format for doing. You can type in things here. I don't want to do that, so. But what I want to show you is that you can also browse the flashcards as they exist. So these are already created, and this is what the architecture underneath the flashcard looks like. There is an MP3, there's Latin and English, and then there's the tag here, right? So you might have multiple books or decks here. You'll notice that if I go to this tag down here, go to chapter 10, this is the Wheelock's Latin chapter 10 tag. So all the flashcards that are tagged for Latin 10 are here, chapter 10. Here's chapter 2. All right, and I can click on any of these and it's going to show me the flashcard template here. All right, but if you go down farther, you'll notice that these other chapters are tags for a different deck. This is the Ross deck. Okay, so you have to be careful when you're looking at tags on this master list that sometimes you may think you're looking at one resource when you're really looking at a different one. That's that. Let me close this, and then I'm going to show you one other thing here, and that is how to do multiple. So let's go back to our decks. Okay, now I'm going to delete this one, and I want to create another custom deck. And here what I'm going to do is I'm going to study by tag, all cards random, choose tags, and notice here I'm going to do 2. Let's say I want to keep reviewing 3 and 4. Let's say I'm in chapter 4, but I don't want to give up my chapter 2 and chapter 3 vocab words yet. Then I can add all 3 of those chapters together, and then that gives me 50. Now, if my my limit had been less than 50, I wouldn't get all 50 there. Okay, so again, I would recommend that you push that to 200. Now, I want you to notice how this is, how the search goes here. It's deck, Hebrew vocab, that's the resource of the deck, and then the tags are in the parentheses here. And it's in parentheses because we have multiple chapters, chapter 2 or chapter 3 or chapter 4. Okay, so all the vocab words come from there. So you now kind of have the basic grammar of how to create a search here. So if you decide that you don't want to have to delete the whole thing, but you want to create different chapters, then go back in here and do chapter 5 and change this one to chapter 6. And let's say that's all you want. Then you can delete this and then click rebuild. And then it's going to give you a different set of cards now. All right. So what I would recommend you do is go back to your deck. We will call this, we'll rename this Ross multiple chapters. So anytime I get into that and I want to change my chapters, I just go to options and just change the 5 to a different chapter, change the 6 to a different chapter, add or tag chapter, whatever, and then click rebuild. Okay, and back to the decks. Then I want to do something like this, custom study. We're going to create one where we just do a single chapter, nothing else. Okay, so just one chapter. All right, so notice that there's 22 flashcards here. All right, so now if you go to your decks, that's still labeled generically custom. We're going to rename this one Ross by single chapter and click OK. And so I can do Ross by multiple chapters or Ross by single. Now, if let's say I'm done studying chapter 11, and now I want to go to chapter, I'm done studying chapter 10, I want to go to chapter 11, right? Notice there's no parentheses here because I don't have multiple chapters to bundle together. I just changed this to the 11. And here, so instead of recreating our deck, we're just rebuilding an existing deck by changing the tag number. Okay, so rebuild, and now I've got a different chapter. Okay, so options, we can go to chapter, let's do chapter 30, rebuild, there's 24, right? So we changed from 22 to 22 to 24 based on those different chapters. Okay, so you can do this with Ross, you can do it with Wheelock's Latin. So let's do a custom study and create multiple chapters for Wheelock. Study by card or tag, cards in random order, choose our tags, and let's just say we want to do 3 and 4 together. Click OK, and there it's got 100 here. Now notice that seems strange that it's like exactly 100. Chances are I really have more than 100 cards that I can study from. And here, interestingly, I have 1 in there. So I must have accidentally had 1 chosen. So let's add that to 200. And see, there we get 139. So there were 39 that got excluded because I had set my limit to 100. All right. So now I can study that. If I go back to decks, then I'll change this to Wheelock by multiple chapters. All right. So let's go to Wheelock by chapter. Here I have chapter 2 and change that to chapter 1. So see, I had put chapter 1 is in that other custom study deck, so it can't go into this one. So what I need to do is let me cancel this. Go back to my decks. Go to this. Go to options. Let's change this one to chapter 6 just to get rid of the chapter 1. We'll rebuild that. Now chapter 1 is available. So if I want to go to chapter 1, I go to options here, Wheelock by chapter, click 1, and then rebuild. And now my chapter 1 vocab words are here. So hopefully that can get you started on working with the vocab words. Okay, I just want to make a couple final comments here. You're going to want to take the cards that you've put into your computer-based version of Anki, and now you want to upload that information to these Anki servers in cloud storage so that when you take a mobile device, you can download all of that information to your mobile device, and now the two devices will be in sync. All right. So this is how you do it. You're going to go to your computer version, and you're going to tap sync here. It's going to ask you to punch in your password, so you will do that. Okay, so now that I've logged in, clicking sync asks me or mentions that Anki Web Collection has no cards, meaning at the server there's nothing there yet. Okay, so everything is on my local storage on my computer. So if I had stuff in the server and I wanted to do this this sort of a synchronization, I'm going to overwrite whatever's on the server so that anything that downloads what's on the server is going to be updated with what I have here. In other words, this initial synchronization is a one-way synchronization. So I am going to replace what's on the server in my Anki Web Collection online with what's locally on my computer. So I'm going to click yes here. And now it's running a synchronization here. Now here's the important thing to note. As long as that's spinning, all of the cards are being synchronized to the web, onto the servers, and the media files are synchronizing. I'm going to click sync here, and you're going to see here that I've got all these things that are being added here, and you don't want to start synchronizing your mobile device to the web yet until you're sure that all the things being synchronized from your computer are all uploaded. So do not run a synchronization from your mobile app until that sync is done. Now you see that there, it says media sync complete. That means it's now safe for me to go to my mobile device, log in using my password credentials, and then I can run a sync and get everything down from the server. And then my computer and my mobile device will be in perfect sync together. Now, I want to direct your attention to one helpful thing, okay? If you go to Help, and you'll see there is a guide here. We click on that, it's going to pull up the guide. This is a user manual for Anki, and so if you need help with getting started, then this is very useful. You'll see that there's instructions for the different types of operating systems, and then there's a few videos to get you started, especially on syncing. I really encourage you, these are very short videos, but just making sure that you've got any syncing issues taken care of. Make sure you watch those, okay? So happy Ankiing.